Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the opening session of the Finance in Common Summit. I'm Asha Sampath, journalist at CNBC, and I will be your Masters of Ceremony for the inaugural edition of this summit. So the Finance in Common Summit is the first ever meeting of the world's 450 PDBs, public development banks. It is convened under the high patronage of Emmanuel Macron, the President of the French Republic, and tomorrow the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will conclude the summit. So the Finance in Common Summit is an initiative of the World Federation of Development Finance Institutions and the International Development Finance Club, co-organized with the Islamic Development Bank. So the summit is convened by the AFD, the Agence Française de Développement, with the support of several banks. So the African, you can see on the screen, the African Development Bank, the Council of Europe Development Bank, the European Investment Bank, the Association of the European Development Finance Institutions, the Brazilian Development Bank, the French Caisse des dépôts, the British CEC, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, the TSKB from Turkey, and all the regional associations of PDBs, public development banks. So the event is also labeled by COP26, COP15, and the Generation Equality Forum. So you might be wondering, what's so unique about this event? Well, the Finance in Common Summit brings together the financial community at large with the objective of designing a new financial system, a system whereby PDBs, public development banks, would have the ability to reorient and leverage all financial flows in the direction of climate and SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So in the light of the current crisis linked to COVID-19, and which actually prevent us from being gathered physically, the Finance in Common Summit developed this special platform which allows you to participate in the RICH program with several events. So you can also interact with us, with other participants through the networking tools available on the platform. And of course, please contribute to the conversation, to the discussions on social media with the hashtag Finance in Common 2020. Now, without further ado, let's open this first edition of the Finance in Common Summit. So, for the introduction today, as you can see, I'm joined on the set today. On my right, Rémy Rioux, the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the AFD, the Agence Française de Développement, and he's also the chair of the International Development Finance Club. Then we have Lombard, who is the CEO of la Caisse des dépôts et consignations group. And of course, Audrey Rojkoff, the Secretary General of the Finance in Common Summit. So it's great to have you here. Thank you to all three of you for joining me on the set today. So Rémy, I can't start this conversation without asking you the question, why the Agence Française de Développement actually initiated this first edition?
Bonjour Asha, and welcome to all of you at the Finance in Common Summit. It was only natural for us to propose and to host this initiative. Agence Française de Développement, AFD, is the international public development bank of France, working with fellow institutions for so long in so many countries. So we firmly believe in international cooperation, especially in times of COVID-19 climate where we don't know all the answers. And I also very vividly remember that it started here in Paris in 2015 with COP21. And then we clearly understood that we have to transform rapidly, in depth, our economies, our societies, and that national and international action go hand in hand. And this is the moment where we sealed an alliance between Eric and I, between Agence Française de Développement and Caisse des dépôts for that very reason.
And so thank you, Eric, also for being here. So we're in Paris, Rémy just said it, where the Caisse des dépôts was born more than 200 years ago. So this summit has a strong meaning for you, I'm guessing.
Yes, of course, we are a young institution and probably the oldest public development bank on the planet. I want first to thank and congratulate Rémy and his teams of Agence Française du Développement, because believe me, to gather such a summit in this difficult time, it was a challenge. They have been, as always, up to the challenge, and that is great because this is a time for international cooperation. This is a time for multilateralism, and we see today, we will see tomorrow, this is working. This is the way to transform and to develop our planet. What is our goal? Ourselves, public development banks. It is to work for a more sustainable economy, for a more inclusive economy, and both are going together. We are following, of course, the commitments of the Paris Agreement, and Rémy mentioned the COP21, but sustainable economy, and that is really important, goes with inclusive economy because we cannot transform the economy without the people. That is what we are here for. And let me just to conclude, give an example. The job of Public Development Bank is to act especially during crisis. And Caisse des Dépôts has been founded during a crisis in 1816, long time ago. Today is a crisis. We have to act in a counter-cyclical way. Caisse des Dépôts of France will invest 26 billion of equity to work toward more inclusive economy, to sustain housing, to sustain the corporate, and to act also for social equality in our country. And I'm sure all the colleagues around the world are doing the same, and I'm really looking forward for 2 days of very interesting debates. Thanks again, Rémy, for the hard work you've put together.
Well, thanks, Eric. Thanks to both of you. We know now, we understand clearly why the idea of the summit started here in Paris. So now let's focus on the summit itself. So I would like to begin by stressing the impressive and substantial analytical work conducted for over a year to prepare the summit. For a week now, an international research initiative on public development banks called The Visible Hand presented and discussed their findings and new approaches to a more efficient, development-oriented financial architecture. It was coordinated by the Institute of New Structural Economics at Peking University, the IDRI, and the FERDI. So I remind you that you can, of course, download the 16 research papers and consult the first ever comprehensive database of all public development banks on the Finance in Common website, of course. So, Rémy, we had 2 fantastic days. So what are your main takeaways on the research conference? I know there are many.
Yes, that's a challenge to summarize, but with your help, we had a huge success with this The Visible Hand research conference. I think more than 1,800 present, participating, a lot of support, 30 well-known academics and practitioners contributing, and yes, high quality material provided. These 16 papers exploring new issues, the role of public banks in the global architecture, the proper regulatory and governance for PDBs, and what could be the methodology for SDG compatible investments. And all the participants have a look at the database. It's the first ever comprehensive set of data on the 453 public development banks in the world to discover the magnitude of what we are talking about. And on the lessons drawn from this conference, maybe 3 points for me. The first one is the need and the possibility to position public development banks as country platforms for just and sustainable transitions that we have to accomplish. The second is, of course, we have to give them the means, the proper supervision and a strong governance to deliver the development impacts that are awaited. And the last point is, and this is the purpose of the summit, we should create a global coalition to blend with private finance, to work with civil society, to invest at grassroots level. So That's the plan.
So that's brilliant and looking forward. So now we are quite well prepared on the substance. It's time to officially launch the summit. Here's a video introducing the work, the diversity and the impact of the family of PDB's public development banks. Take a look.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome and mabuhay.
Welcome. Bienvenue.
Hello. Welcome to all of you.
Welcome.
Bienvenidos.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Well, great video there. Audrey, really enjoyed it. So, Audrey, you're the Secretary General of the Summit. You led this effort. So we would like to hear from you, of course, about the summit, its spirit, and the program.
Yes, thank you very much, Asha, and welcome to everyone in this opening session. Thank you very much. So yes, Asha, the idea for the summit came to us about 1 year ago with the IDFC and the World Federation of DFIs. So as the COVID-19 pandemic hit, we knew the year was going to be hard. But we became even more determined to make this summit happen. As we are discussing the recovery plans, it's even more timely to discuss the role of public development banks. So we started to mobilizing all our partners around the world. Of course, we had a lot to do and a long way to go. But because we had so much to share, and because we are all seeking solutions to make our investments sustainable, it was natural to form the Global Coalition of Public Development Banks. So it's really because there is a strong consensus on what needs to be done, because on climate issues, on social inequalities, we managed actually to prepare the summit even without ever meeting in person, because it was
challenging.
It was obvious, actually. From there, and with our partner PDBs and all willing stakeholders, including the IMF, the European Commission, the United Nations, all of us pulling together, always in a strong spirit of partnership and cooperation, we shaped the concept of finance in common. And then meetings after meetings, we designed the deliverables and put it all into a program, and here we are. As the video has shown, we will have 12 events to discuss the concrete roadmap of the public development banks. We will have 2 high-level panels to discuss how to move forward with our shareholders and with our stakeholders, and we will have 1 plenary session to engage all together. Thank you, Aisha.
That's brilliant. It's great to share your vision about the role and objectives of this coalition. So before we actually listen to actual members of this coalition, which are connecting with us in a few minutes, could you briefly introduce us to some of these, the members there?
Yes, yes, of course. So we have here with us today the president of the Islamic Development Bank Group, representing the community of multilateral development banks. We also have the presidents and secretary generals of the 10 associations of public development banks that have taken part of the adventure since the beginning. We see them on the screen. They represent together more than 400 public development banks. They are regional, global networks. They are all different from each other, but they have the same ambition to work together and to join forces. So the best thing we can do now, I think, Asha, is to listen to what they have to say about their expectations for the summit.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you. So without, losing time, so I will now give the floor to the members of the coalition who have joined us to acknowledge their participation to the coalition. So I would like to ask you all one question. The challenge being the timing. 1 minute. Yes, 1 minute. What are your expectations from the summit? So I will start with Your Excellency, Dr. Hajar. So you are the president of the Islamic Development Bank Group. So would you please like to start?
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. We, the multilateral development banks, are proof that different stakeholders can successfully pool resources together to finance common objectives and create impact. In designing our shared vision, we should be ready to revisit our development narrative. Development can be achieved through more ways than we traditionally think. 5 years have already elapsed since the world took the collective decision towards 2030 agenda, and less than a decade left. I believe this summit will make a new step on how we finance development, and hope it will bring us closer to achieving our mandate towards the people we serve. And development can be, this summit is timely to agree on the diagnosis and to discuss the collective direction needed to achieve SDGs and the objective of the Paris Agreement. MDBs can play a key role in this important coalition of public development banks and need to seize this unique opportunity to be catalyst of finance in common.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Dr. Hajar. My next question goes to Tabu Taman. So you are the chairman of the World Federation of Development Finance Institutions and the Association of the African Development Finance Institutions. So what about you?
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I wear 2 hats as chairman of the African Association and the World Federation of DFIs, and we've got many expectations. And I would like to first and foremost thank Rémy and his team for arranging for this. But this summit, we wanted to support the mobilization of resources for development to less developed economies, particularly in Africa, where we come from, either on capacity building or blended finance product. And then obviously, we are looking at fast-tracking the SDGs and the Paris Climate Finance Agenda. That's very important. We need to fast-track it. We need to form stronger alliances with public development banks of the world in advancing the cause of development. We know very well that public development banks are very key in the economic landscape of the economies of our countries. And it's important for us to be able to come together, share experiences, learn from one another, and also be able to get the bigger ones to help the smaller ones. So those are pretty much my expectations. And over another, more and more, I wish I could be there, but because of COVID, I'm based here in Botswana. I'm back home. But I invite all of you to come to Botswana to enjoy the.
We would love to. We would love to. And we miss you all. We would have preferred you to be here physically, or to be honest, but we're happy at least to have this conversation. Thank you, Thabo Thamane. My next question goes to Octavio Peralta, the Secretary General of the Association of Development Financing Institutions in Asia and the Pacific. So would you share your expectations with our audience, please?
Thank you very much, Asha. Excellencies, distinguished attendees, mabuhay from the Philippines, and best wishes of good health and safety to you all. On behalf of the Association of Development Financing Institutions in Asia and the Pacific, or ADFIAP, I wish to thank the conveners of this Finance in Common Summit, the French Development Agency, particularly Mr. Rémy and Ms. Audrey, the International Development Finance Club, and the World Federation of Development Finance Institutions for inviting us in this very auspicious and pioneering event. ADFIAP, represented by its 87 member development banks in 36 countries and territories in Asia and the Pacific, is pleased to join all public development banks gathered in this summit in contributing to the fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement. ADFIAP also looks forward to collaborating with public development banks elsewhere on knowledge exchange, resource sharing, business cooperation, and other programs and activities of mutual interest. ADFIAP believes that by working together, public development banks all over the world will be able to do more and contribute more to sustainable development. Needless to say, we are stronger together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Octavio, for this hopeful message. Next, we have Carlos Linares as President of the Latin American Association of Development Financing Institutions. Please share your views with us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rioux, dear friends from all over the world. Please receive my best wishes on behalf of ALIDE, the Latin American Association of Development Financing Institutions. It's an international organization representing institutions that finance development in Latin America and the Caribbean, with a 52-year history and a membership roster numbering 82 banks from 22 Latin American and Caribbean countries. I'm also honored by the presence of member institutions from Canada, France, Germany, India, Portugal, Russia, and Spain, along with regional and multilateral financial organizations of regional and international scope, which together manage approximately 3.3 billion in assets and loan portfolio of 2.2 billion. I have the great pleasure of expressing our satisfaction and appreciation at being able to accompany you at the Finance in Common Summit. Development banks are highly unique institutions. We go where others are not present. We do what others do not wish to do. We serve customers and projects that are not attractive to others, but they are of vital importance for advancing our country's development and the well-being of our people. Some could think that as banks, the institutions we represent provide financing, but that is only one part of the truth. The heart of the matter is that development banks provide hope, opportunity for people and enterprises to see their dreams and projects come through. They make the poor feel as if they are truly citizens of their countries and not just one more element in the population statistics, and foster less developed areas to be integrated into national and international patterns of production and consumption. Several key aspects were highlighted at the leaders' recent General Assembly, named Building Sustainable and Resilient Responses to the COVID-19 Crisis in Latin America and the Caribbean, held this past October on the way to this summit. This assembly marked the strategic direction for future global actions for the region's development banks. These are important aspects in which we hope to see results at this summit and which are worth underscoring. The recognition that today, more than ever, we are not islands, but part of an interconnected global community. That is necessary to rethink and invigorate international cooperation and multilateralism.
Thank
we
you.
must be capable not only of attracting resources, but also channeling the finance sustainable investment.
Thank you very much, Carlos Linares. We also have Philip Mills, Secretary General of the European Association of Public Banks. So would you please share your views about the summit?
Hello everybody. Hello to all my fellow chairmen. Hello there, Rémy. Hello there, Eric. First of all, I would like to thank Rémy and his team for organizing this impressive event despite difficult sanitary conditions, and thank you for inviting EAPB to be part of it. A little bit few words about EAPB. So we represent national promotional banks, regional promotional banks, and municipal funding agency in Europe, and we have over 90 different members, and we represent around 15% of the total balance sheet of the European banking system. What do? We advocate three things. We advocate proportional financial regulation in order for us to be able to fulfill as best our different public policy mission. We advocate strong sustainable financing on different dimensions, especially infrastructures. And we advocate the efficient use of EU funding through our different institutions. So what do we expect? We expect, first of all, to reinforce with all of our networks the Sustainable Development Goals. We have been already very efficient in that. We have issued a lot in terms of green bonds, social bonds, sustainable bonds, but we intend, with the help of the others, to do more. And we do think effectively that we are efficient when we do cooperate, and to use our experience at the European level, the fact that Europe is for more than 60 years a very integrated part of the world, to give you some feedbacks on how perhaps some lessons to increase the degree of cooperation.
Thank you, Philip Mills, for sharing your views with us today. We also have with us Laurent Zilberberg, the President of the European Long-Term Investors Association. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As one of LT, said the European Long-Term Investors Association, I would have three expectations and one requirement. The first expectation I have is boldness. Because we need to invent a new word, we need to be bold in the solution we will propose. Second expectation is momentum, because we need to create a movement based on the unsurpassed activity of NPBR and leverage effect, need to have to create real dynamism with the momentum. Last but not least, some important expectation is about security. Probably the most important takeaway, we all share only one planet, and we all have economies we have to support, and all our economies are linked to each other. And requirement will be for the next financing concept. There will be more gender diversity in the president of the association. Thank you, Rémy, for all the work you've done.
Thank you very much, Laurent. There was a slight issue with the sound, but we got the message. Thank you very much. So what about Mr. Ibrahim Al-Mogel, who is the co-president D20 Long-Term Investment Club and CEO of the Saudi Industrial Development Fund? So we would like to hear your hopes about the summit.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to join you today to represent my colleagues, the members of the D20 Long-Term Investors Club. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our colleagues from AFD for organizing this gathering of public development banks. I'm also pleased to see the high engagement for our D20 members in the summit. As we all struggle with the repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic, I speak also from personal experience, as I am now in self-quarantine in a room where I was diagnosed this morning with COVID. So that's why some of the technical challenges I've been facing. We must work together to overcome the economic impact. Countries across the globe are confronted with unprecedented challenges. While we celebrate the recent encouraging news on the vaccine, we need to be diligent on the economic recovery because it's likely to be long and difficult, especially for SMEs. To that end, we look forward to the first Finance in Common Summit, which comes in an opportune time. If there is a time to come together towards a common goal, it is now, as we work to support a green and sustainable recovery towards the Sustainable Development Goals. I wish you all a great summit. and look forward to meeting you all in person soon as we put this pandemic behind us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing, Ibrahim, and good luck with the with the confinement. Right, so we have one more person, Bruno Venn, as chairman of the European Development Finance Institutions. So what is your wish for the Finance in Common Summit?
Yeah, many thanks, and good afternoon to the colleagues and ladies and gentlemen. The first gathering of public development banks is a great achievement. We all must thank you, Rémy, for your outstanding leadership. The summit is a timely event to reaffirm the contribution of the 15 European development finance institutions towards achieving sustainable development goals as risk takers and true impact investors in support of the private sector in developing countries, and especially in sub-Saharan Africa. We have introduced harmonized SDG impact measurements, and we would like to see to be engaged with other public development banks on that. I'm happy to announce our members' ambition to exclude coal and fuel financing to align with the Paris Agreement on climate by 2022, and to phase out all other fossil fuel financing by 2030 the latest. More private investments on climate could be mobilized provided that the right investment environment is in place. We have just published a working paper that identifies the hurdles to climate finance. We would welcome a dialogue with all stakeholders on those challenges and the way to overcome that. We are glad to launch at the summit a coalition of 20 public development banks to support SMEs in Africa, acknowledging their crucial role for jobs and growth and recognizing that they're under acute pressure. And once again, we expect that other banks to join us too in our collective action to help SMEs in Africa in an important part of the crisis response. And finally, the summit is a great occasion to recall that finance is a major trigger for change, and that especially the private sector is key for green, inclusive and digital development. And the time has now come for coordinated action amongst the public development banks to build back better. And we expect very much that we can achieve an efficient and effective way of working together as close as the members of the European Development Finance Institutes are doing since more than 25 years.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward.
Thank you very much for sharing. So, Rémy, I'm going to ask you the same thing. So, as chairman of the International Development Finance Club, so what are your ambitions for this summit?
One very short word, Asha, to thank all colleagues and to express the proudness of the 26 national and regional development banks that are the members of the IDFC. They initiated this summit, and they have high expectations. I mean, to receive a strong political support and for fresh ideas. So a lot of people will participate, and they can provide ideas, especially on this mystery on how should we align with the SDGs. All our financial flows. So that's for the club, but I will stop here because we also invited individual banks from all over the world to express their views in the final session.
Probably we say thank you to all the members who are with us before, and thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you all of you, and catch up hopefully in the near future physically if it may. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Yes. So let's listen.
Yes, the last session is just to express the diversity of what we are talking about with the voice of individual public development banks. I turn to them. Have a nice
Bienvenue to the Finance in Common Summit. I want to thank Rémy Rioux of the AFD for the opportunity to address you here today. I'm excited to share this stage with the other panelists from the International Development Finance Club and the World Federation of DFIs. Today, as the world confronts a global pandemic that's threatening lives as well as livelihoods, the development banks play an essential role in helping the world to confront COVID-19 and its resulting economic impacts. Using our expertise and tools, we can mobilize financing to support struggling businesses, preserve jobs, and help the world's most vulnerable communities recover. For the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, COVID-19 emerged in our first month of operation. We immediately pivoted to respond. over the past several months, we've hired a specialized team to focus on underwriting and structuring projects that are focused on responding to the effects of COVID-19. We created a $4 billion liquidity facility that is rapidly expanding lending to small businesses from sub-Saharan Africa to Latin America. We're also actively exploring projects tied to financing pharmaceutical manufacturing and supply chain resilience, including vaccine distribution around the world so that every person can access a safe and effective vaccine as quickly as possible. We launched a Health and Prosperity Initiative. The mission of the Health and Prosperity Initiative is even more important in the light of this pandemic. This initiative has received close to 100 applications and is underwriting 33 projects as we speak to help healthcare around the world. Most recently, we unveiled our first ever development strategy, which announced plans to mobilize $75 billion for development over 5 years. This development work is critical to help countries bounce back and to create more resilient communities. All of these actions demonstrate the unique capabilities of DFIs to respond to COVID-19 with critical investment capital in emerging markets. DFC is committed to focusing the majority of our support to lower income countries and fragile states. These markets presented challenges before the pandemic, but now our work there is more critical than ever. And because we recognize that the challenge of investing in these markets, we recently launched our African Technology Innovation and Entrepreneurial Solutions Program in partnership with the African Development Foundation to provide loans as small as $50,000, as well as grants from USAID and our partners there. There's also a reason for DFIs to work together more closely than ever before. By collaborating and sharing risk, we can accomplish more in places that need our support more than ever. The need to support African entrepreneurs and small businesses impacted by this pandemic is a priority for DFC. Emphasizing this focus can help jumpstart African economies into recovery. We look forward to working with many of you to bring stability and sustainable economic growth to the world. Our work will make a critical impact in the months and years to come. Thank you for your partnership, and I look forward to working together.
I am Javier Diaz, CEO of Bancoldex, Colombia's business development bank. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, development banks have shown that we can act in a quick and counter-cyclical fashion to help improve the business prospects of companies that have been badly hit by the pandemic. At Bancoldex, we have deployed over $1.6 billion, at least a quarter of which have gone to finance micro, small, and medium enterprises in their working capital needs. We have already started designing new credit lines for 2021 with longer tenors, better grace periods, and even lower interest rates. We are also working with colleagues at the IDFC on innovative business models and SDG alignment. We have done much, but we can still do much more. This is the time to be bold and to make the best use of development banks.
Fellow public development banks, it's a pleasure to join you at this inaugural Finance in Common Summit, which comes in this COVID-19 era when the world really needs to come together. Public development banks are no doubt very important financiers in bringing about quality economic growth that is both transformative and also sustainable. We know that public development banks are the source of about 10% of the estimated 20 trillion annual investment flows. The estimated $2 trillion provided by public development banks often plays a catalytic role and drives financing where it is very much needed. As an IDFC member, we at TDB have pledged our commitment to align further our work to the SDGs and to the Paris Agreement, and we are making progress. With half of our portfolio now already contributing to the SDGs, we've solidified our standing as a trusted and innovative financier of impact in Africa. We already have long-standing partnerships with various IDFC members and look forward to working with more public development banks alongside like-minded commercial partners as well. The COVID-19 pandemic has underscored, once again, the need for expanded and stronger partnerships. We must continue to innovate and to be resolute in our drive to generate more impact. We are here to scale up, speed up, and synergize in this time as we're all trying to build back better. We thank you for being here at this Finance in Common Summit, and we look forward to working more with all of you in the months and years to come.
Thank you for the invitation. The Inter-American Development Bank supports the spirit and objectives of the Finance in Common Summit. We're already working with the World Bank and the IMF to more effectively channel resources to the pandemic recovery effort in Latin America and the Caribbean, where GDP is expected to shrink by almost 10% this year. We strongly welcome new approaches to facilitating public and private financing to stimulate growth. The IDB Group will contribute to this effort by boosting investment to create new jobs, advance digitalization, foster entrepreneurship, especially amongst women, and increase regional integration through nearshoring. With more than 6 decades of technical expertise and hands-on operational experience, the IDB Group stands ready to leverage the strength of its balance sheet and its comparative advantages to deploy direct financing and catalyze new sources of private investment in our hemisphere.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here into this gathering, although virtually, participating in this critical PDB's gathering. More than ever, we should be together. We're living a transformational moment for the world. Society, financial markets, environment, everything is changing, and it is changing fast. That's why we, as the development banks, we should also change. We should also adapt, and into a collaborative way. That's why having forums such as this one, or the IDFC, where we can exchange, we can align visions, is so important. Every transformation requires adaptation. Financial markets will change. Government policies, the way we apply it will also change. Technology is everywhere. More than ever, as the development banks have done for decades, we're gonna play a critical role, especially in this moment when we need to link financial capacity, financial techniques with purpose, with sense of mission. And we, as PDBs, we work as a bridge between the financial market and the government and our mission, the purpose. Working with services, providing services into our regions. Mobilize private capital. Working with sustainable green finance. Working with taxonomy, SDGs, it's critical that to align SDGs. And I could list many other topics of relevant interest. Again, that's a moment of innovation. That's a moment of inclusion. That's a moment of purpose. That's why it's so important that we work together, we collaborate, and we innovate for the benefit of our citizens. I wish you all a very good event and hope to see you soon in person. Thank you very much.
I wish a pleasant and happy day to everyone. I congratulate President Macron, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and our partners for organizing this initiative. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank welcomes this effort to gather development finance actors to mobilize for a better future. COVID-19 has changed our world. The post-COVID era will require increases in sustainable investments, critical to foster inclusive growth and promote environmental sustainability. In response to the call for coordinated action to COVID-19, AIIB launched a $13 billion crisis recovery facility to work with partners to help our members cope with economic, financial, and public health challenges. This facility has helped our clients overcome immediate financial pressures and maintain critical long-term investments. AIIB is ready to mobilize additional financial resources to respond to the needs of our members. deeper operational, financial, and knowledge partnerships with MDBs, governments, investors, and clients will help unlock the potential for financing infrastructure for tomorrow. Thank you, and I wish all of us a successful event.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings from Shanghai. On behalf of the New Development Bank, I am very pleased to be part of the Finance in Common Summit. I would like to commend the organizers for bringing together such a galaxy of public development institutions to discuss important issues that are common to all of us. The high number of participating institutions with different mandates, sizes, and geographic reach demonstrates the commitment of public development institutions to come together as a community in such challenging times. We may be many, but we are far from being enough. Only by joining forces, we'll be able to catalyze much needed resources to help our countries in fighting COVID-19, combating climate change, bridging infrastructure investment gaps, and eventually meeting our common development goals. I wish the event a great success. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to all our contributors, and thank you to Audrey, Eric, and Rémy for this great initiative, great summit, and looking forward to see what happens next. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to you. Thank you very much.
Right. What a great overview of specificities and similarities of the coalition member institutions. You've heard them, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us for this opening session. Our next session starts in less than 15 minutes. We'll hear about the mobilization of development finance for sustainable sports. Yes, you heard me, sports. The session will highlight the values of sports and will present how public development banks can work more closely with the Olympic world to achieve the SDGs. Some of the biggest players of the sports movement will be gathered in this unique session to present brand new initiatives to better align sports and the SDGs. So stay tuned, and right after there will be another special session on the growing global movement to establish new green banks. I also remind you that the summit continues tomorrow starting at 8:30 a.m. Paris time. In the meantime, please feel free to share your comments and contributions on social media using the hashtag FinanceInCommon2020. See you at 3 p.m. Paris time sharp.